Welcome to the Reimagine podcast. Each week, give yourself 30 minutes and meet the people working hard to create the future of insurance today.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler. We recently attended the first Medicarian conference in Las Vegas. Jay Weintraub took the top Medicare supplement conference and broadened it to include innovation across the entire senior healthcare space. We interviewed a number of leaders on the event floor and pulled the recordings into 3 podcasts. Today, in part 2 of 3, we explore innovation in customer creation. Recent regulations released by the CMS, privacy changes on social media platforms, and similar changes on the iOS platform have radically reshaped how we find, engage, and connect with seniors. So Richard, who are you and what do you do?
I am the founder and CEO of CoverRight, and what we are building is the go-to concierge for navigating health and finance topics for the 30 million boomers that are aging into retirement over the next decade.
And what brought you into this facet of the market? Like, did you start off more on the financial product side, or are you starting off on the health side?
Yeah, my background's always been in financial services, and so prior to starting CoverRight, I started my career in investment banking, actually covering financial services, so doing M&A and capital market transactions for banks, insurers, wealth managers, exchanges, all the above. And then the few years prior to starting CoverRight, I was with a company called Credible.com, which was tackling another personal finance problem on the other side of the demographic spectrum. We were building the first and still the largest student loan refinancing marketplace in the US. And so I've always had a passion for personal finance. And I really think, our whole thesis at CoverRight is that health is a financial asset. Health inflation is 2x US inflation over a 30-year period. Your same dollar is worth 62% less when you're looking at healthcare services. And so we think staying healthy is an asset, and also helping people to navigate like healthcare costs and health insurance is an important topic.
So interesting, like obviously on the financial side of things, from a product perspective, there's a lot of complexity behind it, a lot of complexity in terms of structuring the products. Are you finding anything vastly different in terms of working on the health side with either consumer perception or knowledge going into it?
Yeah, there's definitely a big difference between health and lending. Lending is, in some ways, a lot easier of a business because you're just shopping for price in most cases. And so a lot of people don't have affinity with the lender. They don't really mind who the lender is as long as it's the lowest cost. Health is very different because there's a quality side to it that doesn't get captured necessarily. Particularly with like Advantage plans or things like that, where people really care about what's the quality of the carrier, are they going to pay my claims? Like, health is really important. And so it's a very different conversation and more complex to navigate because there's a lot of variables.
Yeah, and I find these conferences always interesting just to test, my view of the universe.
Yeah.
Did this reinforce any ideas? Did it change any ideas you have or perceptions of where the opportunity is?
Yeah, I think it's a reinforcement. I think we're starting to really see, we have this whole thesis that over the next decade or 20 years there's going to be a whole influx of health tech and fintech for this demographic, really because they are going to hold most of the wealth. And so what we've seen as part of this conference is there's a lot of point solutions coming up for tackling different parts of what the carriers are doing. So whether that's retention type things or whether that's like specific health services. And so where we see us fitting in is that over time there's got to be a rebundling of that somehow. Some people need help navigating these services. What is happening is exactly what should be happening, like specific focused companies targeting certain sub-segments. But there needs to be some sort of navigation through that, and that's kind of where we hope it'll sit in the future.
Any big surprises from, like, we've heard a lot of discussion on lead generation sourcing and some of the complexities in terms of, what products you can talk about based on where the leads come from and when you can introduce other products. Any complexities that kind of surprised you going into the space?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of compliance around the space. And I think one thing that's been interesting, which really goes to the fact that I think the industry is still early on digitization as a whole, is there's still a big focus on calls and like call transfers, which for our model actually doesn't work that well because we really want the user to start the conversation themselves and like be part, through like a digital means, actually start learning themselves. And so when they come to us, by the time we speak to them, they're more informed. So it's not like a conversation where we're trying to spend an hour on the phone with them trying to, explain Medicare 101. And so that's been interesting. And so even when we do our own leads, going making sure we're not, meeting all the compliance hurdles like that, that's been a bit different for sure.
And are you developing the educational platform, or are you sourcing that?
Yeah, we build our own proprietary content. So we have our own podcasts, our video 101 courses, and written content and audio content. And so what we find on our platform is a lot of the industry is focused on people who are ready to transact. So they've got their Medicaid card. 70% of our users reach us 3 to 6 months before they're even ready for Medicare. So there is a deep desire to learn, is what we're finding, and hopefully we're going to keep engaging on that and building content that's interesting for them, so that they can actually be more empowered.
Yeah. So people are interested and want to talk more to you. How should they get in touch with you? How should they find your company?
Yeah. Pretty simple. www.coverright.com, COVRRIGHT, or hello@coverright.com. We've got a great team who are ready to help.
Oh, excellent. All right. Great. Hey, listen, great seeing you. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks. Who are you and what do you do?
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me. Yep, my name's Thomas Cutting, CEO of Acquire Crowd. We're an ad tech company focused on servicing the insurance, financial service, and retail markets.
Excellent. And what exactly do you do, really?
Yeah, ultimately, our clients work with us to not only purchase intentful leads from us, but to leverage our behavioral database and our consumer database to really understand how to activate in-market audiences. Insurance, for example, is across Medicare, Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage.
And who is your typical client? Is it generally the manufacturer? Is it agency distribution?
Right, yeah. Mostly focused on, brokers, agencies, and FMOs today.
Yeah, tell me about activation. What exactly do you mean by activation?
Yeah, sure. Today inside of the kind of the data marketplace, you're going to have companies like LiveRamp, Loadame, driving offline data segments for online use. Acquire Crowd is positioned differently in the market because we are focused on delivering that same targeting and manipulation of online supply. Think, clicking on a banner ad in real time. So instead of having data updated weekly, daily, monthly, everything's in a real-time format, which creates leverage and higher engagement rates per consumers.
And you're doing this in multiple lines in the insurance industry, correct, currently?
Yeah, that's right, Mark. We're across Medicare, auto insurance, health insurance, and final expense.
And are you finding a lot of cross-sale opportunities between all of those lines?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the things that we're seeing today is kind of like Medicare Supplement to life. That's something that we're seeing success in today in terms of cross-selling. Yeah.
How about Medicare into annuities?
Yeah. I think if you can draw a line between Medicare Supplement and life insurance, I think that line and that chart only gets more exponentially impacted by bringing on annuity. Annuity, you're focused on the net worth of the individual, right? Focused on excluding that primary residence, and really focusing on making an impact to them and their lifestyle, their loved ones. It's a financial instrument that makes sense, and if MedSup is, if MedSup can create that life event for that consumer, all of a sudden annuities become
as an entry point. So
exactly.
Entry point to the client, correct?
Like a catalyst, a landing zone.
It's a way to create a trusted relationship. I save somebody money on their health care, and suddenly I get permission now to address some broader needs. What are your goals today?
Yeah, so Acquire Crowd is here at Medicarians to really learn more about the Medicare industry We are an ad tech company. We're not a producer. We're not a broker. So we're learning more from these brokers, from these agencies, and what we can do to help grow them.
And what got you into this space? Like, what got you into this type of distribution?
Yeah, so again, we come from more of a survey panel lead generation background. Over the last 5 years, we built a database of 75 million first-party consented profiles. So bringing that to light for insurance is, it makes a lot of sense. Insurance, you're looking at call centers, agencies, brokers, and in terms of Medicare, life, auto, and health, people always need leads to dial. So that's kind of the background that we came from, and where we're going is more taking it to the next level by understanding the behavior of those consumers as well.
That's great. And if people listening want to get in touch with you or find you, what's the best way to do it?
Sure. Yep. Paul, it's going to be acquirecrowd.com. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks.
So, Jeff, who are you and what do you do?
Wow. Okay, so my name is Jeff Petrosky. I lead our insurance practice at Verisk Marketing Solutions, formerly known as Jornaya. So we are a data and technology company that has an eyewitness view of consumers comparison shopping online for major life purchases. So think all lines of business in insurance, going back to school, buying a car, securing a mortgage, or a home equity line of credit. Any considered purchase that a consumer is doing research online, we're there with the consumer when they're raising their hand. And then we help brands figure out which consumers to get into their funnel. So if you're a lead buyer or a lead generator, we help you to enrich what that consumer household looks like, and then how to progress that lead from a lead into a customer.
Okay, so table stakes problem we heard about was CMS. Okay, where did this lead come from? What was presented? Did they start as Med Advantage? Did they go as MedSup? You solved that problem, right?
We help to solve that problem.
Okay.
So by knowing more about where the lead came from, what was shown to the consumer from a disclosure standpoint, Telephone Consumer Protection Act, really important to marketers, right? So recording that proof of consumer opt-in is a best practice in this industry and something that we really help with on the CMS side too.
So Jeff, your clients are not only marketing companies that use it from a lead generation standpoint, but also you work with carriers from a policy retention standpoint to predict their behaviors.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. So not only are we working with lead buyers who are just trying to figure out, hey, is this a lead I want to buy? But once leads become customers and beneficiaries, we work with our clients who include carriers and their distributors, anybody that's touching the consumer with any sort of regularity, to help them understand, hey, is this person I care about in market for something I can sell them, or in market for something I already sold them and now they're a persistency risk? Those types of insights are things that we deliver every single morning to our clients, which include agencies, brokers, as well as direct-to-consumer carriers.
And do you generally work with them through the full process? So work with somebody from a lead gen standpoint to, once they purchase a policy, working with the carrier to retain it? Or is it generally kind of separated services?
It's up to the client. So whatever their need is what we typically start on, and then we expand from there. So if persistency and retention is of the utmost importance, again, our clients give us their policies in force. We listen to our network of over 500 million shopping events every single month. And if Jeff Petrosky, the anonymous consumer to us, but you know them as your customer, shows up in market, we deliver every single day a daily feed of the in-market activities associated by your customers yesterday.
Okay, so we actually could trigger a win-back call, a client
100%.
retention call.
Yeah, so client retention and or, to your point, prospecting, right? So if you've got a bunch of old leads that never converted, you spent good money there. Why not spend a couple additional pennies on the dollar to understand when they return to market?
So what kind of impact do you have from a conversion standpoint? From if they're not using the service that you have, like what is the general indication that you say?
Yeah, so one insurance provider that we work with sent their quoted not sold population emails at a static rate every few months after their policy renewal date that they listed in the quote request form. One size fits all, batch and blast sort of emails. It worked to the extent that it was cheap, and they didn't do much with it, right? They layered on top, ingested that population and then sent them every morning, the people that showed up in market yesterday, and then they sent incremental emails to the folks that were actively shopping. Just by focusing on and sending emails to the people that were already in market, they increased requotes by 30%.
Wow.
And sales by 19% to this population.
That's impressive. I mean, we heard a lot of dialogue in the breakout sessions that, talking about leads and the quality of leads that people are purchasing, and they're saying that, cheap leads are actually very expensive leads because you're spending a lot more time cultivating something that doesn't come to fruition. So obviously, overlaying a service like this, saves time, makes more efficiency for the marketers.
Yeah, ultimately just knowing more about the households you want to write and sell to creates better conversations, creates more engagement, and helps you as an agent or as a distributor do your job better. So that's exactly what we're doing. And yeah, I completely agree with the sentiment that a cheap lead does not necessarily make a good lead or an inexpensive lead, right?
Yeah. So, real interesting 2 days. A lot of interesting people we've all run into. What was your biggest takeaway from this conference?
It's a good question. I think one of the learnings that I had is prior to coming here, I always sort of thought of acquisition and persistency in two silos, and frankly, with a lot of folks that we work with, it's completely different teams who manage those initiatives. But really, persistency and client retention starts at the moment that you first interact with these folks. Really breaking down those silos and also working with your stakeholders to ensure that, one, the messaging and the interactions that this person is seeing are uniform and true, right? It's CMS, right?
Yeah.
That is extremely important, and then carrying that through and staying engaged, so no sleeping dog syndrome or leaving the customer alone after you've sold them. That's all part of one process as opposed to multiple cogs in the wheel.
Well, this is great. Thanks for coming by. People want to find out, contact you or learn more about Jornaya, where should they go?
Yeah, 100%. Jornaya.com. That's spelled Jornaya, and I look forward to being at the Nassau Reimagine event here in a few weeks.
As do I. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
we'll look forward to continuing discussions.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Who are you and what do you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Greg Salwitz. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Easy Health. And what I try to do is build technology solutions that drive high quality growth for agencies across the insurance space. I've spent about the last 10 years working in data-driven direct response marketing and technology-enabled marketing automation. And I've built a lot of really interesting teams that can drive results around a metric. And so the metric we've really started focusing a lot on at Easy Health is retention and LTV. We think that the industry as a whole has gotten really over-obsessed with CPA, and that's been a big driver behind why the quality of apps has started to fall. And so we think that by targeting differently on the front end with marketing, but also by innovating on the member experience side, there's a lot that can be done to move what is a transactional process to a much more relationship-based and a much more member-centric and long-term in nature transaction. So we really think that by marketing differently, but also by activating benefits and creating better experiences, there's so much that can happen to drive a better quality Medicare agency and faster growth with better results.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Quality is something that's very hard to achieve, but worth an enormous amount down the road. Who are your customers? Who are you providing the services to?
So we started originally as an agency, and so we built from 0 to 200 agents in about a year and a half, and so we were our first customer. And so we sort of looked at our agency as the laboratory, and that made us very accountable for our results, and it gave us a lot of visibility, so we could really craft and perfect the process. And now we're really looking to strategic partnerships with large businesses like Health Plan One and Transact, and saying how can we scale this process beyond our four walls? How can we both drive better quality growth for those types of brands, but also like be a strategic partner in driving like high quality retention.
What excites you most about this business personally?
So I got started in the P&C side of it, insurance. And so like I got to see early on this transition from an offline transaction to like online consideration, transitioning toward offline, to finally like more and more like online only transactions. And so like getting to see that in auto and then moving into Medicare, which to me has always looked like an industry that's like a shadow of auto that's like 10, 12 years behind, just because of the difference in both the brands playing in the space, but also the consumers playing in the space. Like I felt like there was a chance to sort of like witness that same transformation in Medicare, an industry that has such massive scale, but also it has a lot more impact, because compared to auto insurance, where like best case scenario, like you have no impact, you get in an accident, you get your car fixed, and like you're back to normal. Like in health insurance, we have so much more ability to really drive better health outcomes and to create like a real impact beyond just a financial industry. And so that to me is like the technology excitement of, hey, like there's meaningful change coming and you can be a part of it, but also like the impact excitement of like the stuff matters. Like if people are more able to use their benefits, they will like go to the doctor more, they will be more engaged in their health. If they have better access to their agent, like they will like leverage things like secondary benefits like meals and OTC that really like add together to create like a better quality like senior life.
Yeah, hey, thanks. So what's the best way for people to find you or find your company?
Yes, so best way is either joineasyhealth.com or reach out to us on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Okay, hey, I look forward to our panel discussion today.
Likewise.
Thank you. Hey, Joey, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Joey Marino. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Broker Calls, and what we do is drive live calls on a pay-per-call basis from search engine optimization, social media, TV, radio, the whole gamut, mostly in the Medicare space, also in the final expense, all the other insurance industries, life insurance, final expense, auto, etc. But it's a very interesting landscape right now. Medicare is highly regulated, as you know, so there's some challenges. But getting a lot out of this conference as far as how technology is changing things and how we can match that up with the CMS regulations to get everybody the qualified calls that they need for AEP and beyond.
Yeah, so every agent needs leads. Mm-hmm. That's the one common need I hear over and over and over again. Now, wow, has digital marketing changed how you get calls here? What's the biggest change here? If you look in terms of the landscape over the next coming year, is it all CMS compliance focused?
That's a good question. A lot of it is CMS compliance. That's probably about 85% of it. Constantly changing, having Jornaya tokens and things like that is a big change in the industry. Hate to date myself, but I go back to the days in television where we could run the carriers labels on the ad and nobody cared. I can't do that anymore. But there's the regulations, making sure that everything is validated, and all the technology that these clients have, these agencies have, to make sure that they're not getting repeat calls, to make sure that everything is on the up and up. That's probably the biggest change. One thing that is also very interesting is, we're moving into a time where senior is considered more high tech than it used to be. I use my mother as an example. She's 65 years old. She thinks she's 25. She streams. She uses QR codes. And this is where we're able to use the technology, where in the past, it was traditional television or radio during Matlock.
Oh, I know. It's changed so dramatically. I mean, we've got online chat on our website. We put that up about a year and a half ago, just before the pandemic. And shocking to have to have text messages or chat and realize this is an 85-year-old.
Yeah.
Chatting about insurance issues. So if I'm an agency or an agent and I'm trying to set myself up for the AEP cycle this year, what are the questions I should be asking of my lead source?
So I think the major questions you're going to want to hit upon is, are you CMS approved? and that is easily shown with the ID numbers. You really don't want to work with anybody who's not. You're going to want Jornaya tokens if you're doing transfers. Consumer-initiated inbounds are a very good way to go because you're having somebody who's actually, initiating the call.
Yes.
And, just really making sure that the people that you're working with are trustworthy. Try to get them know them personally, because this industry has a lot of interesting situations, and but a lot of people that really care about making sure that this is successful for you.
Yeah. So what are you most excited about in the next year or so?
So I think probably what I'm most excited about is the evolution of how leads and calls are being created for Medicare. Like I said, I used to do the TV radio side, and now you're looking at everything from Facebook to, I heard TikTok is now a thing,
yes.
Which is crazy because I don't have TikTok, and I know my daughters and stepdaughters do, and you don't want to see me do a TikTok dance, trust me. That's really it's kind of crazy to me, and it's kind of the evolution of, I use Facebook as an example. I'm 42 years old, and Facebook is my main means of communicating. If you told me 10 years ago that you were going to use Facebook to reach seniors, I would laugh. And
yes.
now it's a major way to reach.
Yeah. All right. Hey, well, listen, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And have a great conference. And thanks for having me. And it was really good to meet you. And
what's the best way for people to find you or get in touch with you?
So you could reach me on the Broker Calls website. It's BrokerCalls.com. Also on LinkedIn. I have Skype and email. And I don't know if I should give my email address over the air, but I will. It's joey.marino, MARINO, @brokercalls.com. We did a lot of volume last year and look forward to do more with you guys.
Cool. All right.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Bye.
Who are you and what do you do?
I am Mark. Mark Sagers. I'm CEO of Inspire Health Tech. We offer an AI-based Medicare plan recommendation engine for consumers as well as for agents to help match a consumer to the right Medicare plan.
And I'll tell you, walking around talking to people, it's harder than ever especially for consumers, search through all the various plans, and it's complicated for agents. How do you come to this space? Now, I know the answer. You've actually this is not your first rodeo for startups, but how did you get here?
Right. Well, I think we all know, friends, family, seniors who have been through the online Medicare experience, and it's not necessarily a real good one for a lot of people. They go there because, for 65 is not that old anymore as it relates to technology. Seniors are using the internet to shop for products of all kinds. And so naturally they turn to the internet when they're looking for a Medicare plan. But when they go out there, they're promised quotes, they're promised personalization, they're promised, choice, and instead a lot of times they just turn into a lead. That lead is sold and resold so many times, and even before they've, finished that first sentence, they've received 3 emails, and the phone's ringing off the hook for months. So it doesn't help them answer the fundamental question of which plan is right for me. Right? So what we've done is we provide advanced AI machine learning that profiles these people based on a few basic questions. And then based on that, we profile them with like individuals and then project forward expected claims to get to what their expected out-of-pocket will be, to help them understand what these plans will probably cost them. So we believe it's a nice tool for consumers. And also what it does, we think, is it shortens the sales cycle time for the agent, because now this consumer is a little bit pre-informed with that top of funnel sort of view of plans. And now they're talking about, let's get you signed up, as opposed to explaining Medicare and all that's involved in that.
Yeah, well, I just heard Scott Perry from AirLife talk about agents' interest in getting into the space, and he said that a lot of them are coming to him saying, "How do I do this?" Wouldn't this help me as an agent be much more confident that I'm doing the right thing for my for my client?
Absolutely. Not only is our tool, and it's a great question, not only is our tool good for consumers, it helps the agent project their plans that they represent with confidence within the scope of the plans that are best fit for that consumer. So absolutely. So turnover is a problem for these call centers, and getting new agents up to speed and getting them as productive as quickly as possible, right? So with a tool like this, they can confidently represent the plan within the context of the best fit plans for that consumer.
Yeah, what was your biggest aha from the conference? Now we're at in day, I guess, 2.5.
Yeah, I think the flexibility of our API, and we can build these data points into any CRM or any consumer landing page is really both a blessing and a curse, right? Because we're finding that everybody could potentially work with us,
right?
Because I think everybody wants to help the consumer. It's just a lot of times they don't have the tools to do so.
Yeah. Well, if people want to find out more about your company or your tool, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, Paul. Thanks for asking. Best way to reach us is we have a website, inspireht.com, which stands for health tech. They can go there. They can also give me a call directly, 414-379-7401. We also have a toll-free number, and that has a few options for people, and that's on our website. So
excellent. All right. Hey, thanks so much for coming by.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Paul.
Thanks. Who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so my name's Danny Greason. I am the CEO, founder of a company called eQuoto, and we are a lead generation company specific to final expense, Medicare, Med Advantage, senior products. We generate leads online. We have a call center that goes outbound to those leads that we generate, and then we transfer the calls to our partners.
So our clients. So you do like live qualification of the call and then do a live transfer at that moment?
Daryl, yeah.
I'm Daryl Goldstein. I'm Vice President of Business Development at eQuoto.
All right. So what brings you to a conference like this?
Well, I think this is where we have a lot of clients here, and we see this as a great place to find new clients and also to learn about all the regulations that we need to know about in marketing for
Seems like a lot of regulations, number one, in terms of like tracking back where the leads came from, and a lot of talk we've heard, in breakout sessions in terms of quality of leads. And a lot of times people think like a cheap lead, might be better, in terms of cost, but obviously it takes a lot more time to go through that process. How do you orchestrate in terms of the quality of leads that you're generating?
So I think it's a really great question, and one I'll tackle in a couple different phases. One, we sell a call transfer, generally call it between $50 and $60 per transfer, and that transfer needs to go a set amount of time before it becomes billable. In order to generate transfers and make money, it's really difficult to go buy Google search engine generated types of leads. It just doesn't work. Even if you can generate that lead for $15 or $20 with all the other overhead involved, you'd have to bat 1,000. Every single lead that we generate, we have to contact, and we have to qualify and then transfer. So that doesn't necessarily back out all the time. So you've got to find a kind of a happy medium between. The other thing I'll mention is we actually look for compliance and permission before we look for intent, because there's just so many pitfalls. So we just want to make sure we have that Jornaya or that trusted form. The level of intent may vary depending on the placement and the traffic. But you've got to be, yes, I hear what you're saying, like cheap leads may be better. Sometimes they're better just because it's the only way you're going to meet your metric.
Yeah, and I wasn't suggesting that the cheap are better. I think in the long run the message was that they're not, because you're spending a lot more time spinning your wheels in a sense,
Sure.
right?
Exactly, and I think I think we've seen that with telephone sales rooms, it's a mistake to have your licensed agents outbound dialing on low intent data. That is not the best use. It's better to have a group like ours or an internal group to go outbound, and they can spend it. Now it's a different skill set.
I would assume your conversion ratio is pretty high from an industry standard perspective, correct? If you're qualifying and transferring?
Yeah, I think we work with our clients for their target sort of cost per app, cost per place policy. That gets tracked pretty tightly. So yes, I mean we've got to convert at a decent clip. Otherwise, we'll lose the client.
Yeah, and as far as the transfers go, even though we're using a low intent type lead, the real magic is done at the call center as far as qualifying these prospects. So, if they don't qualify, we don't transfer the call.
Yeah. So you have a lot of clients here. What are the challenges unique to this next AEP period, and what are the unique opportunities this year?
Yeah. I think the challenge, the biggest overwhelming elephant in the room challenge in talking to folks here is, there's not a lot of activity happening right now. In years past, we haven't seen the precipitous drop-off after AEP ended that we did. Obviously, a lot of the major players in the space took a beating in the market after this last round. So I think, to me, it's the combination of CMS, people being skittish about the guidelines, not knowing what they should and shouldn't be doing. I hopefully that last year we've worked through some of that. But to me, the biggest challenge that we will find is working with compliance departments and making sure, we need to be optimizing creative to increase our efficiencies to make a performance marketing type of product work. And when we have attorneys rewriting our creative, it kind of,
you've got different attorneys at different companies are giving you different guidance.
Oh, I've never seen that happen before.
different
right, Mark?
Never.
Wait a second. We just got this approved 2 months ago, and I asked you to change. I changed one sentence, and you rewrote the last one you already approved, right?
And printed.
Yeah. So I guess. Look. If somebody's trying to go into this process, I mean, what kind of expectations should they set themselves? Sounds like you're not going to be as able to make as many A/B tests, switch up headlines. It may be a slower process, and it feels like it may be a more expensive process this year to generate leads. Is that a fair statement?
I think that, yes. I think every new regulation, I mean, we spend a pretty penny on storing our certificates of authenticity for the leads. On every level, we're layering in expense and generating these leads. So I think and I also think inflation's actually going to
so what impact do you think that'll have? More switchers, more people shopping, more people going either from MedSup to MedAdvantage? What's your take on that?
I think I think it's going to affect us on the lead generation side. I am not sure how it will affect the folks shopping. I think that the stock market in their portfolio is probably maybe even more important than inflation, just because, I mean, my parents who are of Medicare age, this last month or so took a beating in the markets, and I just think that's consumer confidence. People are free to go into an Advantage plan or buy the supplements if they feel good about things.
Right. Well, hey, this is great. So if anybody wants to reach out to you personally or your company, what's the best way to contact you?
Daryl Goldstein. That's DARYL @Equoto. That's EQUOTO regalvoice.com or 404-217-8823.
Okay. Hey, listen, it's been great to catch up again in person after a number of years. Yeah. So anyway, hey, listen, look forward to talking more with you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Katie April. I'm a growth lead or account executive at Regal Voice.
And what does Regal Voice do?
Yeah, Regal Voice is a next generation B2C outbound phone sales solution for high consideration products or services or high volumes of leads. Also like in emotional purchases, right? Where you want to be able to communicate with that brand or that potential company in order to collect the appropriate information and convert as a lead or customer.
Yeah, wow, the technology changes so fast. Now, we've been talking to a lot of people here in the space. A lot of excitement. You know, we're in the business. You know, we're 2 years, 3 years into the med-sup space. A lot of agents are looking to get in. It's a tough space. So hyper competitive. We're all looking at how challenging this will be this fall. So if I were an agency, a call center, a carrier looking to get in and actually be more effective in talking to people who reach out, what does the next generation call center look like?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not maybe you call it a call center.
Yeah, so we're call center software, right? But we work with a lot of companies that necessarily don't have a call center today, right?
Yeah.
As we think about folks from a self-serve perspective, we're finding that only 2% of those individuals that go onto the website actually convert. So that means 98% of folks that go onto the website are clicking around, looking for information, and then they leave. So if we think in the Medicare space, there's so many different opportunities, companies, and it can be a little challenging for folks to understand what's going to be the right fit, what's going to be the best rate, and what's going to make them the most comfortable in partnering with that company. So what we've been able to find, and what our co-founders and Rebecca and Alex, who came from Angie's List, found was that if we start using phone as a channel, we're seeing dramatic increase in conversion, roughly around 36%, and then on average an additional 25% incremental revenue by just adding that personalized touch. So for folks that don't have a call center agents today, what we're doing and what we're kind of helping them through is either working with a BPO, which is a business outsourcing process, so you can partner with agents, maybe offshore, inshore, low cost to the company, or even just pulling some folks off of like your customer support, customer services team, putting them into Regal Voice for like 2 months just to see what that lift is, and actually just start calling down on those leads, right? So what we do from a Regal Voice perspective is two things. First, we've pioneered the caller branded ID and spam remediation, right? Everyone gets spam calls, telemarketer calls, and nobody's picking up the phone anymore.
So what shows up if a number comes off a Regal Voice? What does it look like on my cell phone?
Whatever company we're partnering with. So like SoFi is one of our largest customers today in the financial services space. Forward is another in like the healthcare space. If they were to call you, immediately you're going to see Forward or SoFi pop up. So the more you're likely to answer that call. But what the cool thing is that it can be in real time, right? So let's say you go on and you are checking out, who you're going to be your next bank is. You're not happy with your current process. Let's go find something else. There's a lot of different options out there, and it can be stressful. And we're all humans at the end of the day. We want the easiest thing, and we want the easiest route to take. So if we are, again, going to sign up for a checking account, somebody then leaves that website, within 10 seconds, we can take all of that information that we were able to collect. Oftentimes it's like quizzes, lead forms, things like that. Pull that into our platform, Regal Voice, and trigger out a call task within 20 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it might be, so that that person sees SoFi calling them, pick up the phone, have that conversation, right?
Interesting. So you're not, it sounds like you're not a typical cloud call center that is typically just taking inbound calls.
Correct. Yeah. So we're specifically built for outbound phone sales,
Yeah.
right? We don't really have competitors in this space. As we think about the space overall, we have the large companies that have been around for a really long time, Five9, Genesis, Nice and Contact, right? Specifically built for customer support inbound. Then we have like those soft phones from Dialpad, AirTalk, TalkDesk, right? And then we even have like SMS platforms.
Interesting.
We've taken the approach of just fully focusing on outbound and reducing any noise from an inbound perspective. So use cases can be new business, retention, win back, really any type of things to just convert your leads quicker.
Okay, so we're here in Las Vegas for a Medicare conference. Well, what's your big takeaway from this market? I mean, it's a complicated one to learn, and super complicated. I mean, what's your talking to people, customers? What do you hear? What is it that kind of stands out in terms of opportunities in the space?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. I think our challenges when we come to conferences like this is finding those B2C companies, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes in this space, it's folks working with insurance companies directly or Medicare companies directly. So we are looking to just find the folks that are looking to be more direct to consumer. So for me, my biggest takeaway is just really wrapping my head around the space overall and where potentially we can find different niches of how Regal Voice can serve folks in the Medicare space. And then again, just getting our name out there, right? We're relatively new. We're only 2.5 years old. So as a startup, you kind of just have to continue to talk, get your name out there and drive, people to the website.
Yeah, and speaking of which, okay, hey, I want to learn more. How do I get in touch with you or Regal Voice?
Yeah, regalvoice.com. You can fill out a lead form there. The cool thing about us is we actually use our platform as well. So if you were to fill out a lead form, you're going to get a call from somebody saying Regal Voice. More likely to pick up that phone call and have that conversation. I'll give you my personal information if you want that too, but easiest is probably directly through the website.
Okay.
And folks can have those conversations and get the information.
Okay, excellent. All right. Hey, thanks for coming by.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks. So who are you and what do you do?
Thank you. My name is Bob Donlin. I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing for RGI Solutions. RGI Solutions is a lead generation and agent recruitment company serving the Medicare space.
Okay, so interesting conference. You said this is the 5th one you've been to.
5th one we've been to. It's also probably, I would say, the most enjoyable one. We have a lot of clients here. There's just more of a sense of community at this conference than some of the other shows that we go to.
Okay, so if I'm an agency director, I'm a head of marketing, I'm an agent, going into this AEP cycle, what should I be asking for from any of my lead vendors?
Yeah, I mean, AEP is such a short period. It's so important for an agent. You want to take the risk out of that experience and maximize the amount of money you possibly make, right? So lead generation is a key part of that. And what we find is that a lot of agents don't really know how many leads they're going to be able to get to work in AEP. So they're either going to get too many, they can't work them, it's a waste of money. More likely, they're not going to get enough. And they're reworking and trying to contact people on old leads, and they're just not being efficient. So our approach to it is that we don't charge per 1,000 pieces mailed. We actually can calculate how many leads we can generate for an agent during AEP. And we have that agreement in place, and we put the mail on the street, and we get them pretty darn close to exactly what we say we're going to at the price that we committed to. And the agent does not have to pay for the leads until they get them. So a lot of times they can actually make money on AEP before they have to pay off their lead bill. Really nice scenario.
Well, that sounds like interesting. If I were an agent, I think I'd like to sign up for that program.
I sold you. I'm glad.
You sold me. You sold me. Actually, I am an agent, but I'm not actually selling here. Well, let me ask you on the tech side. So COVID had a huge change in not only how you reach people, but where are they listening?
Yeah.
Where's the tech heading over the next year in this marketplace?
Yeah, I know it's interesting because typically when you think of a direct mail lead, which is what we do, you think, well, that's a traditional field-based agent who is going to show the customer the lead card they filled out, right? And there's a lot of value to that. We actually found that direct mail helped agents make the transition from face-to-face sales to over-the-phone sales. And the reason being is because they could actually reference things that the customer wrote on that lead card. Spouse name, age, great penmanship, whatever the case may be. That made that transition from face-to-face to over the phone a lot easier for them versus traditional digital leads that might have been generated via Facebook where the customer doesn't necessarily remember that they clicked and wanted more information. They certainly did at the time. So direct mail has actually been very helpful for agents to make that transition to more of a virtual sales.
Interesting. It's kind of like what's old is new.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, direct mail, it's a thing of a past. In reality, direct mail is always going to be valuable. However, one of the problems with direct mail is the uncertainty. You have to pay this flat rate, and you don't really know what you're going to get. On the digital side, you absolutely know what you're going to get. You contract for digital leads a certain price, and it's a known. So our approach is, well, let's take that traditional, but let's actually make it modern pricing. Let's figure out how much it should be. We take the risk for putting the mail on the street. The agent doesn't have to. They just pay for the result, and they hold us accountable to getting them the amount of leads at the price that we quoted them.
Interesting. What's making you most bullish about this market over the next 4 or 5 years?
Well, certainly there's more and more people that are going to need Medicare insurance, right? The more people that need to be insured. So that's a big part of it. I would say that we're also seeing, is particularly for us, a lot more lead availability than we have in the past as well, which is very, very exciting, particularly in the Medicare space. I've talked to several potential clients here at the show, and I tell them my Medicare leads right now are less than any other type of insurance lead that I generate. So when people think about getting into AEP, it's not just the amount of leads, but we can get them a pretty darn good price too, which will help on their budget.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks. If people want to reach out to you or your company, how do they do that?
Sure. Well, the easiest way is to go to our website, which is rgida.com, and then fill out the form there, and we'll get in touch with you within 24 hours.
Excellent. All right. Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information about this company and other great startups at imagine.nfg.com.